Did you know that commodities beat gold and silver during rising inflation?
And that's why I think nuclear power and uranium are in a place today that I have never seen in my almost 16 years in this industry as an entrepreneur.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching Yankee Stacking. Silver and gold are what you have to be stacking. In fact, I just bought more constitutional silver yesterday. And yes, these are commodities, but they aren't the only ones. Don't miss out on other commodity stocks for your portfolio. That's where I've been focusing on as inflation skyrockets. This asset class of commodities outperform every other asset class during rising inflation, even gold, against their base performance. So if you think inflation is transitory or mild, if you buy into what the central banks are telling us, well, maybe commodities aren't for you, but I think that's ridiculous. Now, of course, I'm stacking physical gold and silver, but I do it primarily as a prep, a hedge, insurance. I've talked a lot about that. But I'm not stacking other physical commodities like copper or zinc or lumber or uranium. No, I invest in them in the stock market. Do you? I want to know. Really, tell me in the comments below whether or not you are investing in commodities. And please, hit that like button right now. It helps the word get out. And it helps people get their questions answered. This was asked of me last week. And I'm sure there are others thinking the same thing. You see, people, uranium is what powers our infrastructure. It's what makes our lights come on, supplying the base level of power needed for our daily lives. Without uranium, it's gone. There's no guarantees, of course, but I am putting my money where my mouth is on uranium. I'm buying in. But which uranium company? That's the question. Well, I've researched several, actually, and today I have with me Amir Adnani of Uranium Energy Corp. He's going to discuss his company, and I'm going to run it through my Yankee quadrant analysis with you to see if it makes the cut. Welcome, Amir. Thank you so much for joining Yankee Stacking.
I'm excited about this. First time, right?
Yes, first time. My channel is largely about stacking physical precious metals, gold and silver, here in our YouTube community.
As an entrepreneur, I'm a big fan of stacking gold resources in the ground. My company, Gold Mining, has been doing that for the last decade, so I get it. I'm a big bull when it comes to gold in particular.
That's awesome. But I just laid down a quick elevator pitch for uranium right before I brought you on. So
the other yellow metal.
Yes, exactly. The kind you don't probably want to hold in your hand.
No, or wear as jewelry.
Right. I think it's a phenomenal sector for my viewers to consider investing in. And Amir, I'm about to take the plunge myself, but I'm a newbie. So could you give us all some big reasons why we should be investing in uranium right now?
I think you should be really looking at uranium. And I think what makes it interesting is that it's a hated sector. You hear uranium, you hear nuclear power, right? And what are you thinking? The first thoughts that come to your mind are Hiroshima or Chernobyl. And the media has done a real disservice to what is otherwise an incredible technology. Both uranium as a fuel. Uranium is one of the most energy dense commodities in the world. And nuclear power really is a technology that harvests that incredible energy, which is all emission free. But I guess what I'm here to talk about really in this interview is let's look at the facts and figures, right? Let's look at the fact that today there are over 440 operable nuclear reactors in the world. China can't build these reactors fast enough because they have a massive air pollution problem in China where people are literally dying from. You think about COVID as an issue. No, Air quality, people are dealing with air quality related diseases and deaths and mortality linked to that is a serious issue for the Chinese government. So they're building reactors. The Russians are building reactors. They can't build them fast enough. What does the world need a lot more of when it comes to energy? That one particular type of energy we need a lot more of is electricity. Why? Just look at the fact that every automaker on earth, like we spend the last 100 years basically living off of the internal combustion engine when it comes to how we move from A to B. Every automaker now for the next 1 to 5 to 10 years wants to go electrical, right? They want to build electric vehicles. This electric vehicle movement is something that will only put more pressure and demand on the electric grid. So if you believe in that, if you believe in the fact that all the day-to-day lives that we live requires more and more electricity, then we need to have ways of generating electricity that also doesn't just put more carbon in the atmosphere. Whether you believe the carbon argument or not, the reality is governments and really the bond market, the green bond market is a humongous marketplace now where more and more capital is being made available to companies that are making these pledges about reducing their carbon footprint. So now it's a dollars and cents incentive. It's not even a debate anymore. And that's why I think nuclear power and uranium are in a place today that I have never seen in my almost 16 years in this industry as an entrepreneur. We're seeing policy and an attitude that is really embracing nuclear power. We're seeing reactors under construction. Over 50 reactors are under construction worldwide. Over 50 new reactors were added to the grid over the last few years. So the theme of the sector is growth, growth, growth. Yet, if you look at uranium today as an asset class, it's trading at 1/3 of its all-time high. Here we are in a market where the stock market, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, are all trading near or at all-time highs every day. Even your favorite, my favorite, gold, precious metals.
Right.
They're not, maybe they're 10% below their all-time highs of last year. Uranium is 70% below its all-time high. And it's a commodity that we consume every year in nuclear power plants to make electricity. And we simply don't mine enough uranium to meet demand, and demand is rising. So for that reason, I think the fact that the sector is hated creates almost an opportunity, a disconnect, that if you look at the facts and figures and dig deep, you realize there's a dislocation here. And that to me is the opportunity.
A contrarian opportunity. And
yes.
And also, no other energy can really satisfy the base level energy needs that we currently have, not to mention going forward into the future.
The key word is base load. And base load basically means the capacity factor. How often during a 24-hour cycle does a power source keep generating power? Solar and wind work 25 to 30% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if you have 24 hours, for only a quarter or a third of 24 hours, they're able to generate electricity. Solar, because the sun doesn't shine all the time. Wind, because the wind might not be blowing. They have these very literal limitations. Nuclear power has the highest capacity factor. It works almost 95% of the time. No other form of power generation comes even close to it. And so the way you look and think about nuclear power is you think of it as your backbone. It's the backbone which works all the time. And those other things, renewables, wind, solar, etc., they should all be part of the mix, because you got 7.2 billion people in this world on our way to 9 billion. Like we're going to need more energy, all right? And there isn't one form of power generation that's going to satisfy what the needs are. But in that mix, you got to have nuclear power.
Wyoming will be the first state to build what they call a small modular reactor in the U.S., SMR, I believe it is for short.
One of the very wealthy residents of Washington State, Bill Gates, is financing a company called TerraPower, which is based in Bellevue, Washington. And that company is developing new generation, new technologies around small modular reactors. So a simple way of looking at that is your average sort of large scale nuclear reactor generates about 1 gigawatt of electricity annually. And it's because it's so large and has a large capacity for generating energy, they're usually built around larger cities. That's why in the US, you typically see the nuclear fleet that we have in the US, over 90 reactors operating, basically near major sort of city centers and populations. Small modular reactors are designed to be maybe 1/10 the size of a regular size reactor. And so you can build them in smaller population cities or areas like the state of Wyoming, or in remote areas in northern Canada where there's mining and other industries that requires energy, but you don't have a big population center.
Right.
This is a very promising area when it comes to nuclear technology. Also, microreactors are what is fueling space travel. Some of NASA's space rocket ships that have traveled to Mars, etc., all of that is being powered by nuclear energy. Those investments being made in nuclear energy really signals that nuclear energy is on the rise, and it's here to stay, and it will only be perfected or improved from where it started as a technology 45 years ago. And it's only going to become safer, it's only going to become more efficient, and it's going to become, I think, more just prevalent in our energy mix and in as a supplier of electricity that we badly need.
I do want to shift our attention to your company, Uranium Energy Corp. I want you to tell us why we should consider investing in your company, but I want to frame it around what I call the Yankee quadrant. 4 critical areas that I carefully consider before investing in a mining stock. Okay, so it's
all right, give it to me.
Management, projects, ownership, and financials. So why don't you touch on each of them for us?
Okay, well, look, I mean, I'm very excited about what's going on with Uranium Energy Corp. If you just look at our, share price, it's nearly doubled over the last year. It demonstrates that we're doing something right, and that there's momentum in starting to develop in what we're doing. Really, first and foremost, when you look at the management of this company, you see entrepreneurial energy. That's what I have brought into this company as the founder and CEO over the last 16 years. You see patience. We're not looking for a quick overnight success or hit here. 16 years of carefully building our business. The chairman of our company is a former United States Energy Secretary, Spencer Abraham. We're the only uranium company in the world that has a former energy secretary involved as chairman. Our executive VP, Scott Melby, he's the president of the Uranium Producers of America. That's our industry association. Shows credibility, validates that the people that we have are energy people, uranium people. The team that we have are individuals that have been in uranium mining for most of their careers over the last 25, 30 years. We have skin in the game. When you look at the top 5 holders or top 10 holders of our company, you see my name, you see the name of our chairman, right next to institutional investors like BlackRock and Fidelity. So not only do you see that confirmation of, hey, these guys are doing something right by attracting big notable institutional investors, but you see the names of the people running the company on a day-to-day basis right alongside those big institutional investors. As of our latest reported filings and numbers, we've got over $110 million in cash, physical uranium, and uranium-related equity holdings. The company's burn rate over the next 12 months, or in the last 12 months, was about $12 million. Our budgeted activities for the next 12 months is very similar. So with that kind of planned expenditure and development, we are very well funded in terms of having a very strong balance sheet to fund our activities. And we've done something very unique. We looked at the fact that the uranium price is too low at $30 per pound. It's too low to incentivize mine construction globally or in the US. In fact, at $30 per pound, the uranium price is almost below what the prevalent mining cost is to mine uranium.
Oh my
So what did we
goodness.
do? What did we do? We established a physical uranium program. So what is our company doing is we actually took some of our capital and we bought physical uranium with it. And we're storing that physical uranium on US soil.
No,
So
smart.
this would be analogous to if you're a gold company and gold is trading at, let's say, $700 or $800 an ounce, and it's cheaper to buy gold that, the average cost for a gold producer in the world today is about $1,200 an ounce. So if you could buy gold at less than what the mining cost is and just buy it and store it, you would do that. And you could argue it's better than cash, because cash on a daily basis is being devalued. Fiat currencies are being devalued. So as a company, we had a strong balance sheet. We instituted this physical uranium program. We've acquired 2.4 million pounds of physical uranium. We've taken deliveries of 1 million. Wow. We're storing it all on US soil at a warehouse in the US, the only warehouse in the world. So we're not taking on any geopolitical risk. The stuff's not sitting somewhere in Russia. We are the premier US uranium mining company. We have more uranium projects permitted for production than any other company. However, at $30 uranium, the uranium price is too low to incentivize mining, as I mentioned, in the US or in the world. So we're not mining uranium. Neither is anyone else. So the United States today has zero uranium mining, yet the US is the largest consumer of uranium in the world, consuming almost 50 million pounds of uranium. And where do we get most of it from? Russia and Kazakhstan. Can you imagine if I said to you, we are consuming we need ventilators. Well, we don't make any. We just lived through this over the last year. We need masks. Yeah. Well, we don't make any. We need pharmaceuticals, but we don't make any. I mean, this whole year has all been about bringing our focus back to supply chains. And uranium is a commodity that is strategic because it has one very strategic use and application: energy generation, electricity generation. Doesn't get more important than that. And so it really is a national security matter that the supply chains of uranium don't exist in the United States, that it has to be imported from foreign sources. Now, I'm not alone in pounding the table about this. The US government has recognized this. For what it's worth, the Department of Energy in the US will commence buying physical uranium from US-based mines, hopefully starting later this year and over the next 10 years.
Wow.
This is a program that has been initiated to basically establish a US uranium reserve, only to be purchasing uranium from US mines. This is fantastic for a company like our mine that has projects, more projects permitted for production ready to go. No one has this kind of portfolio. We have low cost, fully permitted projects in South Texas. We have a hub and spoke strategy. We own our own processing plant for uranium. We have the largest uranium project that's pre-construction in Reno Creek in Wyoming. We have a pipeline of exploration development projects in the Colorado Plateau and Arizona. And we're the largest shareholder of a company called Uranium Royalty Corp that is the first and only publicly listed company applying the royalty business model exclusively to uranium. So the last time the United States government decided to go and buy physical uranium for its own account, you got to go back to the 1950s. You got to go back to the Eisenhower administration. This is not an every decade event. And companies like mine that have the projects and permits and people are going to have the competitive advantage to grab market share quickly. And this is a long-term industry. It's taken me 7 to 10 years just to get the permits to mine uranium. You can't show up tomorrow with a big checkbook and expect to become a uranium miner. And that to me is the inherent advantage that we have.
That's awesome. I think a lot of people more and more are realizing this. You mentioned your stock. Oh, it's been up. It's over 33% year to date. You're doing
this
fantastic. Yeah. It's been much higher. I think there's a lot of room for growth here, and I do agree with you. I think it's a tremendous time to enter into this sector. And your ticker symbol, by the way, is UEC. Guys, this is super easy to remember. UEC. It's on this New York Stock Exchange. It's not over the counter, so all your trading platforms should be able to work with this. Check them out. Put them on your watch list. I already have. How can people get in touch with you if they have more questions?
Go to our website, www.uraniumenergy.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, at Amir Adnani, my first name, last name. I usually tweet about gold and uranium, the two yellow metals. So if you just want to kind of see what I'm up to and what I'm talking about on those sectors, follow me on Twitter.
All right, Amir. Thanks again for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.